Hello everyone, welcome back to the world of Kiln, a dark fantasy world-building project of my own creation. If you haven't been here before, I'd recommend watching my Everything You Need to Know video, or just going through the entire Kiln playlist. This project builds upon itself every episode, so just letting you know, you might get lost if you haven't seen some of my previous episodes. Alright, introductions aside, let's get started. So, a few months ago, I did a video where I designed realistic dragons. I wasn't very happy with that design at the time, and upon looking back, I still find the design to be very boring, kind of tame. That doesn't mean there aren't things I like, but I definitely needed to start over and try some different concepts. To that end, I've started experimenting with some alternative concepting techniques, which you might have noticed in my last video. I designed by refining blobs of value on the canvas, a method called shape carving. I've seen several professional artists use this method, as it helps you create a recognizable, iconic silhouette from the very beginning. There were a few elements of the original design that I really liked, so I made sure not to lose those as I iterated upon the new one. I really liked the idea of the dragon's wings not being separate limbs, but instead a structure closer to flying squirrels and other gliding creatures. Why do this? Well, there are a few reasons. Firstly, reptiles in the real world can't have 6 limbs, so no extra arms for wings. I want them to resemble real-world animals because I don't want them to be demonic monsters so much as exceptionally dangerous animals. They're not inherently good nor evil. Overall, I wanted the dragons to be scary in the same way a tiger is scary. You can tell they are incredibly dangerous, but that doesn't mean they aren't also beautiful. I also had the incredibly original idea to take inspiration from both Komodo dragons and classic depictions of dinosaurs. No one's ever done this before for a dragon design. It turns out that taking inspiration from real-world big lizards makes your big lizards look more believable. I was thinking about the classic imagery associated with the velociraptor in the original Jurassic Park movie. They are far more intelligent than us arrogant humans would give them credit for, yet not so intelligent that they cease to be animals. That uncanny area where an animal is intelligent but not quite sapient is exactly the place I want my dragons to sit at. One arbitrary and frankly nonsensical decision I made in the original video was limiting dragons to 1 species and 1 phlogistal substance. Soon after I released that video, I realized the potential for a variety of dragon species. So from now on I plan on designing at least 1 for each magical element of Kiln. What you see me designing now is an Iliaster dragon, more specifically the thicket drake. These are massive green beasts native to the massive thicket seas of Kiln. Those are gargantuan forests, where the trees get taller the deeper in you go. The thicket drakes are well suited to this environment, as their lack of true wings means they have to glide, and the only way to glide long distances is to start from someplace high up. Thicket drakes spend most of their time stalking the lofty canopies of these forests, hundreds of feet in the air, only descending when they've spotted some unsuspecting prey to dive bomb. Thicket drakes build their nests in the tallest and sturdiest trees, carving the wood with their massive claws and using large branches to construct a sophisticated outer structure. These spacious nests are safe havens from the hostile ecosystem below, and so thicket drakes sleep, mate, lay eggs, and raise their hatchlings in these structures. Thicket drakes are highly social creatures, so I gave them horns. I swear those two things are connected, so let me explain. I wanted to give these dragons horns to make them more easily identifiable as dragons, but I also wanted a believable biological explanation for them. My solution was casques, an idea brought to my attention by some of the lovely people over on my Discord server. Like birds and some reptiles, these bony crests with hollow internal structures can project thicket drake vocalizations great distances. They use these horn casque things to make all kinds of unique vocalizations. The sounds are so varied and complicated that they could almost be considered their own language. For some interesting sexual dimorphism, I gave the females significantly larger casques than the males, which they use to amplify their mating calls, loud enough to be heard by males on the complete opposite side of the forest. Any males that heed the female's call come ready to fight, They undergo brutal engagements with rival males in order to secure the female's favor. Males attempt to secure anywhere from 2 to 5 females, this behavior a consequence of thicket drake infertility. It is almost a guarantee that at least one female will not be able to produce eggs, so the male has to win the favor of many to guarantee their chances of reproduction. What's interesting is that the infertile females are still accepted into the nest. Regardless of whether or not they can produce offspring, they will still form strong familial bonds with the other nest members, and will still bring food to the nest's hatchlings. This all ties into an interesting aspect of these dragons. Despite their violent reputation among mankind, thicket drakes still have a remarkable capacity for familial bonding. For some reason, they are very emotionally intelligent. Should one of the nest members die, the dragons have been witnessed performing a ritual that could only be described as a funeral. Additionally, it is not the mother dragons that nurture the hatchlings, it is instead the typically very aggressive male of the nest who guides the young dragons in their early years. The females of the nest become hunters, providing the near absurd quantities of food required to feed the young beasts. Any kind of infighting within a thicket drake nest is exceptionally rare, and the dragons almost always mate for life. The glistening golden empire of Gelos interrupts this video to recognize our coffee loyalists. Huge thanks to Cryptic Art, Pokin, and Ninjug for their donations to the empire. Remember that loyalists such as these get videos 2 weeks early and ad-free. Your very generous contributions will be put to very good use. But do know that we appreciate all of our citizens, regardless of their financial contributions, so long as they pay the tax of 1 like and 1 sub. Thicket drakes never really stop growing, and they can reach exceptional sizes before naturally hitting a barrier of requiring too much food to sustain their bulk. That being said, they support their massive frames through constant simmering of iliaster, which strengthens the muscles, joints, and overall physical structure. The only times they aren't burning is when they are sleeping or waiting in ambush, lest the scent of green smoke alert their prey. When hunting, thicket drakes will flare their iliaster in short bursts, producing brief moments of extreme physical power. They are incredibly fast and efficient, never expending more energy than needed. Their supernatural iliaster strength, paired with massive claws and razor-sharp teeth, make them particularly deadly predators. Not to mention, their exceptional intelligence allows them to lay traps, and many nests work together to ambush entire herds of prey. The legends of thicket drakes spitting fire is a tale founded in reality, although not wholly accurate. The dragons burn iliaster so hot it can actually melt flesh. This molten goop is spewed from special tubes in the dragon's mouth that connect to iliaster collecting glands. This is primarily used as a scare tactic or a way to distract prey. Typically, thicket drakes are only a threat to mankind if humans enter their forests. Many a foolish traveler has been led into a draconic ambush, but most avoid that fate by burning Atarosia. Due to the strange geographical limitations of the phlogistal substances, thicket drakes born outside of their forests will be unable to burn iliaster. These frail hatchlings often die young, unable to provide for themselves as they are barely able to sustain their own weight. Of course, iliaster has its price. Overuse of iliaster puts one into a bloodthirsty rage that few men or beasts can return from. In thicket drakes, such rages are set off by particularly drawn-out territory or mating disputes between males. Any other animal caught in the crossfire will not be killed for food, but instead out of pure supernatural fury. Raging thicket drakes can pose a massive problem for civilizations near the forests, as even Atarosia sometimes fails to deter their mad onslaught. Special envoys of dragon hunters must be sent to address these threats, predominantly miasmaliers, pyronauts, and in particularly lethal and threatening instances, they might even send a Hand of Gelos to offer support. Alright, here is the final illustration. I'm very pleased with this result, as it's not only a better creature design, but a much more appealing presentation as well. Of course, I'll probably hate it in a few months and have to redesign it once again, but hey, that's all part of the fun. If you couldn't tell, I took a lot of inspiration from Sawyer Lee's fantastic dragon designs, which also helped me realize the potential of a more varied and distinctive dragon species. If you somehow haven't checked out his channel, definitely do so. Genuinely fantastic stuff. I'm planning on making more dragon designs in the future, and I already have some cool ideas for smaller coastal orcal dragons, and maybe an Eastern-inspired species in the Onrise lands. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Make sure to smash that like button and hit that subscribe and ring that bell and hype it if you're hyped. And if you didn't like the video, make sure you hit that dislike button twice. That way you can really show your hate. Alright, anyway, I've got some very interesting things in the works, so stay tuned for more lore and stories from this world, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.